Hello, welcome to the podcast. Today you got your hosts Bob and Sebastian. Today we're probably going to be talking about some gaming stuff and what our favorite games are, going through them all. And yeah, so Sebastian, what type of games did you start playing when you were younger?
I started with the Pokemon franchise. Those were my favorite games to play on my DS back in the day, and I still play them to this day, and it's one of my favorites to go back to.
I gotta love them. I have like I've countless hours playing Fire Red on my old Game Boy Advance growing up, and then once I got old enough, I got a DS and played like Platinum, and then I got to a 3DS and Sun and Moon, and then a Switch, and then we got Sword and Shield and the newest games. Yeah, I remember those. My first game, or my first video game I've ever played was Super Mario Bros. On like the NES, like really old style. And my dad was playing Mario, and I was playing Luigi. I was like 3, and I was just like, I was like just playing it.
Really?
It's pretty
I'm
cool.
trying. My first ever video game was Pokemon Ruby, and it actually wasn't mine. I was over at a friend's house.
So, Sebastian, what type of games have you been playing over the quarantine, or how I mean, like what's your gaming life like?
Recently, I've fallen in love with RPGs. I love if I can get married in any sort of video game, I will be playing it. Because especially during a time where you're all by yourself, holed up in your room, it's nice to just escape and spend some time with your video game significant other. So I've been playing a lot of those, but at the moment I am currently playing The Last of Us Part Two. I'm replaying it for like the 10th time. It's one of my favorite games.
Hmm. Yeah, I've played a couple of those. Like I've played like what I was playing Cyberpunk when that came out. I played that for like a month, even though there was like all the bugs around it. And I played through the
Oh
entire
God,
game.
I
There's like a whole bunch of different things that you can do in that game.
I remember towards the end of the game, I don't know what happened. I think I glitched it or something, and I was stuck under the street level, so I couldn't leave, and I was so pissed because I had to like go to my last save, which was an hour before, so I had to redo like an entire hour of gameplay. And I remember just like I was like, I hate this game, I hate everything about it. But then I feel
Only
like in
one
the end it
hour
was worth
though?
it.
Only 1 hour?
Do you have a story to beat mine?
I lost like a whole day and a half of progress because I actually had activated a quest because I went on 100% the entire game. I activated this quest and then went to the wrong spot or something, and it loaded a location in like a weird way, and then when I went to like I went to where it was supposed to be or something. Anyway, what happened was the quest got bugged, and I was like, okay, I'll just come back to it, and I played on for like another day, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to that quest, and then it was still not working, and then I looked it up, and it was like, yeah, this is a bug that happens, and you just have to go back to your save before you started the quest, and I'm like, oh no, all my
Oh
progress.
God.
But yeah, it wasn't the worst. I thought the game was pretty good. Like I literally saw every part of it since I 100%ed it, did every single mission in the game as of release. I didn't, or I don't know if I played. I don't think they've added much to it since, but I'm probably gonna
They
jump back
did.
into it for a second playthrough at some point.
They did like a total revamp. You can switch apartments. They have a bunch of new stuff. I think you should check it out. But who did you romance in the game? Who's your?
I think it was Pan Am is the one I chose.
I think she's the only option too, isn't she?
Yeah, as the guy. And then as the girl, well, actually, I think there's a couple of different ones that you can choose from. But yeah, there's like I don't know, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good game, and the endings were pretty good. I had to replay through it, but I just sped around the second 2 times because there was like 3 endings at the time, I think, or maybe more. I don't know, but
I think
um,
three.
yeah, I got all the achievements on my Xbox, and after I beat the game, I was like, all right, I don't know what to do now. I just chose a different game.
How many games do you like? Do you usually 100% games, or was this just like a?
This was just a rare one because I was like, all right, I want to play through it, and I just want to do the whole game. I could tell you right now the games that I've 100%ed. It's been Cyberpunk. Lego Jurassic World, and I think it was like Beat Saber or no, not Beat Saber, Batman VR. Beat Saber, I do have a lot of progress in, and if I think the only thing I'm missing is like the things that are related to like leaderboards.
Later. Oh yeah, you play. You mentioned something about playing VR games. Is that how is that?
Yeah, I've been playing them for a bit. I think was it a year ago or maybe 2 years ago we got a VR headset. Um, well, my brother got it for his Christmas, but he only really wanted to play one game on it. And then once he finished playing that game, he was like, "All right, you can have it." Like, okay, thanks.
Which
So
game was it?
it was Five Nights at Freddy's VR. So he was playing that, and then he didn't even like it either because he'd play it, he would just get scared. I'm like, why do you even get it in the first place? And he's like, well, it's a scary game, and I'm like, okay. But he got scared of playing it to like the point where he would play the game one day, and then he would wait a week and then play it again. Um,
Really?
so yeah, but he played that, and then he didn't like it, and then I was like, well, you don't have a big gaming PC like I do. I hooked it up to my PC. I got Beat Saber and a couple of other games, and had fun. I had a lot. I have a lot of games now, and actually, I just got another one where you're like swinging around with like grappling hooks down like a track. So I haven't gotten to play it yet, but I saw it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that. Try it sometime. But yeah, there's a lot of. I think VR is definitely like a really good way to play, and definitely something to go into like in the future. I mean, you see like there's like those animes and stuff where it's like what what's the show? How am I forgetting it now?
Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online, yeah. And you
That
see
was
them
like
put
that.
on the VR thing, and they're in that VR world, and it's like, whoa, this is like future stuff. And it's like we're actually kind of close to that because we could already get audio, and now we have visual that like matches up. So only a matter of time.
If we get the full, what
The
is it?
full setup, like smell-o-vision and and like taste, I guess.
It
Uh,
reminds me of that Shrek ride at Universal. Have you heard of it? Where you can like, they have like smell
Yep, I
3D
was
and
in it.
everything.
I went through it. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's definitely like that's something that is probably gonna happen in the next. I don't know. I'm not gonna put time on it, but I don't know in the future if we make it. But yeah. Um, what else? I played like a good amount of games. Throughout the years. I'm a big guy into shooters. I've played like I grew up on Halo on my Xbox. I think when I was 7, my one of my sister's friend's older brother, he had an Xbox and was going away to college, so he just gave it to me. He's like, "Have fun." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, dude." I just played through the original Halo, and then I think he also had the second Halo, and then I played through those. And I remember just being 7 and playing the first game, and like as soon as you get to like the flood, it's like, oh, this is scary for my little kid mind.
What's
Um,
the flood
the flood's like
for
the
the?
zombie infection. So like it's like a bunch of little infection forms. They're like these little guys like the size like as tall as your knee, I guess. Actually, in the lore they're really tall, but I guess it's not in the lore. It's more of just like perspective. But they're like these little guys that are on the floor scuttering around and chasing you, and it's like, oh god, there's a million of them, help! And you're just running for your life throughout the levels. Um, but I just remember that I was just like, this is really cool. Compared to like the old like before that, all I had played was the Nintendo games and the Pokemon and everything. It's like this is totally different. So that was definitely cool. But yeah, I like that was definitely something that changed me from like I guess like a Nintendo gamer to like going and branching out into different genres. That was definitely the first shooter I ever played, and yeah, it was pretty
Hmm.
cool.
I think the first shooter I ever played was a Call of Duty game because I was one of those like weird kids that were like, video games are violent. And then my cousin came over and he had his PS3 and we played, was it Advanced Warfare? No, it was the bad one. What was the bad one that everyone hated? Ghost. It was Call of Duty Ghost.
That's a bad one. That's the only one I've ever really played. I played that one. I think. I got that. I got Call of Duty Ghosts and Halo 3 on my Xbox 360. Those
Ooh,
were like
the
the
fun
first
ones.
games I got with it.
Really? And so he came over and he had ghosts, and I was like, I'm not playing this game. It's violent. Like, I wouldn't, why would I participate in gun violence? And then we started playing the campaign, which was a co-op, and I remember just becoming like the most like feral, unhinged like little kid because I was like, this is so much fun. Like, I've been missing out on this whole time. What the heck? And then from then on, I was like, okay, what was my shoot? Oh, Borderlands. That was the next shooter game I played after that, and then I just kind of like fell in love with the genre.
Yeah, I remember playing Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, and I haven't touched the newest one that came out recently, but um, I definitely remember playing through those. They were pretty good. I don't know. I think shooters are a pretty good genre just because, like, I don't know, some people are just scared to use guns. I don't know why it's such a good genre, honestly. Um,
I do.
I guess it's because people can I guess see themselves playing it, but then that is like, oh, people just want to shoot people, and it's like, no, that's not why. It's the I guess I don't think it's why. I don't think it's like the media puts it out and it's like, oh, children like shooting people and causing harm, and it's like that's not really what it is. It's just like, hey, I need to get the points by killing you, so I'm gonna do that so I can win.
It's like a it's like a fun it's like a different version of like tag.
It's like yeah. Well, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I've always found shooters to just be like one of my favorite genres, just 'cause it's something to just sit down and play, and also like it's fun to play with buddies with it. You get like a whole team. Your fire team goes out and wipes the field. And there's just like I don't know, a lot of potential because you can go one way. You start on the map and you go left, and then the next round you go right, and then next round you go down the center. It's like there's a bunch of different options. And then like I don't know, it's just really good genre. And there's been tons. I remember playing Call of Duty Ghosts when I was younger with my little brother, and the two of us would just split screen play, and it'd usually just be the two of us on different teams with a whole bunch of AIs playing like gun game or playing just different game modes. We played like the zombies mode. There's a whole lot of different things that we did. But
That
yeah,
sounds like fun.
definitely a lot of fun. Uh, but yeah, there's also there's a whole bunch of different genres as well. Also, I've played shooters in VR, which aren't really the best, I guess, because like it's I guess you get a little bit more it's a little bit easier to play on a computer or with a controller than it is with the VR headset and controllers because it's based off of your actual movement and in games there's usually a lot of bullet magnetism or like aimbot kind of stuff. Even if it doesn't actually say it, there usually is a bit of it. But in the VR game, it didn't have any, so it was a little bit harder to play. But you get your hand with playing it after a while. But yeah, what other genres do I find
Ooh,
fun?
stealth games. I'm gonna talk.
Stealth games are fun.
I love some stealth games. One of my favorites that I replay is just like a fun little playground stealth is the Dishonored franchise. I play those games to death, especially when they give you a bunch of tools to mess around with.
Have you played the newest one that isn't exactly Dishonored, but what was it called?
Death of an
Uh,
Outsider.
well, no, I think it
Is it?
was which one was it? Deathloop. That was the one I'm thinking of.
Oh no, I don't have a PS5,
Well, I was playing it
but
on my PC. It's pretty fun. I mean, it's like I'm trying to think of it. It's like it's definitely kind of got like that Dishonored tone. It's made by the same company, and everything. Uh,
I
it's
have to check it out.
it's like you basically are repeating the same day over and over again, trying to solve the mystery and everything. But like you can every time you die, there's some abilities that you keep, but you lose all your weapons and you have to get new ones. But sometimes they have better stats. And sometimes you go to a location and the person you're looking for isn't there, so you got to come back on a different day or a different time. And it's
That
this
sounds
whole
pretty interesting.
process. Um, I mean, it is kind of it sucks a little bit because you're only running through like four of the same map, or four different maps, but um, they change because they have different times of day and different things that are available. Like maybe you go into one part where it's like at the end of the day it's all blown up, so you can't really go there. Or maybe like you're at this one part and it doesn't matter until the end where there's a giant party and everything's open. But it's definitely a fun game. That one's also a shooter, but at the same time it's a stealth game if you don't want to shoot. I mean, you can go behind everybody and just sneak kill. So yeah. Oh, another game I 100%ed that I didn't mention earlier was Doom Eternal.
Oh, I do love myself a good Dune game. Not Dune.
Doom.
Doom. Doom. It'll be like 2 a.m. and I'll be, ooh, not gonna say that. Um, it'll be like 2 a.m. and I'm in the right state of mind. I'm so,
You just want to slay.
and I just want to slay. I just want to, and not in like the like, yeah, slay. Like, no, I just want to
I
like,
just want to rip and tear.
I just want to rip and tear some like bodies. No, that's gonna make me sound like a psychopath. I don't want to think. I love not thinking. I love video games where I just have to be like, okay, just shoot and kill. And now I really sound like a crazy person, but I do love the Doom games.
Okay, yeah, I played through Doom Eternal. I played it through on Nightmare, which is like, whoa. Uh,
Nightmare.
yeah, that game that definitely was very fun to play. I played that. That came out in the beginning of quarantine. So the funny thing is, I like during the daytime, during school and the Zoom meetings, I'm playing Animal Crossing and do 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 do, and then all of a sudden, just like I'm flying around, just shooting demons' heads off. It definitely a giant shift, but it's an awesome game. I definitely had a lot of fun playing it. And I played through it on Nightmare, so I did all the Slayer gates, which are optional areas with like just mountains of enemies just running at you at full speed, and you're jumping around the arena like you're like, oh, where can I hide? Because there's a guy and I have to heal up and stuff, and it's like, oh no. But it was definitely awesome. I had a fun time playing through it. I don't think I ended up finishing the two DLCs that I also got that came out. But I'm definitely gonna get back into it at some point. It's just on the list waiting.
I'm like, what's on my list? I don't have anything on my list. Actually, yes, I do. That's a lie.
I still have Doom Eternal to finish. I still have Halo Infinite to finish. There's a couple of others that I still have to finish that I just haven't gotten the chance to play. I'm trying to think.
Oh, the Batman Telltale games. Because after watching the movie, I wanted some more Batman, and I finished Arkham Knight, so I want different Batmans.
Oh, the Batmans. My little brother's a giant Batman nut. He's got like I think all the Arkham games. He has like collectibles of like Batmobiles and like tons of different Batman, just everything. He has like a Batman mug. He has a Batman blanket. He's total Batman fanboy. But yeah, I played a little bit of those. But yeah, I don't know. Batman's a pretty good character. I think comic book heroes work as good video game protagonists. I mean, there's a whole Spider-Man game. I haven't gotten to play it, but it looks like a
I
lot of
played it.
fun.
It is fun. It is I story. If I can't remember the story, then it wasn't memorable. That's my take. But it was the gameplay was fun.
Yeah, this whole like there's like I don't know. There's so many genres. There's the whole battle royale thing that took over for a good amount of years. I guess it's still running, but like I don't know. Like Fortnite came out and it was just like, hey, or like when it was early, it was like, hey, this is a game where you're gonna be building a base, defending against zombies. That's all it is. And then some guy came out of nowhere. He's like, hey, let's add 100 people in an arena and have them all shoot each other, and whoever is last wins. It was like, there we go. And then they made so much money off that game. And they made it free, and then it was free, but then it was like, hey, if you want to play as I don't know, a gingerbread man, hey,
Thanos.
give us $20, and it's like, okay, you get three skins. You're already paying for an entire game, and
And
then
you
there's
know,
all the kids with thousands of skins, and it's like, holy crap.
I mean,
That
they're
is a
just paying for
moneymaker.
it really is. And as much as I'd like to make fun of those stupid people who are falling into that trap, I spent $20 on a Thanos skin so I can so I can ride on a cute little unicorn as Thanos because I think that's the stupidest shit in the world.
Yeah,
Ooh, I
I
cussed.
didn't pay money on that game for like the first 2 years that I played it. Um, because I had found a glitch where I could go into the save the world portion of the game, which is the part where it's like the original game mode that they made paid for afterwards. But yeah, I ended up glitching into that and then getting free V Bucks, which is the currency, and then literally just spending that on the battle passes, and then the battle passes would give you more V Bucks for completing them all the way. So I would just earn and earn, and I was just able to just continue to get more and more skins. And I did that until I think the glitch got patched eventually. But it's definitely fun. I think the total I've spent on the game is probably around 60, maybe. Yeah, I guess around 60. So definitely a lot less than a lot of people probably. I'm still close to like how much you would pay for a AAA title, but yeah, I know people that have spent. I know people that have spent like $300 on the game.
Oh my God, I can't imagine. That's like, ugh, that's so much money. But I love Apex Legends. I feel like that's my favorite battle royale because I love that they're
Oh,
incorporating a
there's
story
another
into it.
game I've 100%ed as well, but that one's an easy 100%.
Apex.
Yeah, Apex Legends. That was an easy 100% because it's just like collect legendary armor or whatever in a match or something.
I love that game. It's
But
so
yeah,
much fun. My favorite character is Loba. She's a teleporting Brazilian woman, and it was funny because I was like, you know that like meme where it's like it's Doofenshmirtz, and it's like if I had a nickel for every time this happened, I would have two nickels, and it's kind of weird because it happened twice. So I'm kind of rambling, but I just think that it's funny that there's like a subgenre of like video game characters and they're like teleporting Latinas because there's like Sombra in Overwatch,
oh
Loba
yeah,
in Loba in Apex, and there's like two more that I can't name, but I just think it's so funny.
yeah, where they throw something and then they teleport to where they've thrown it.
Exactly. I'm like, let's. I have nothing against it though because they're my two of my favorite video game characters and I love them with all my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's also
Shout
something
out.
like that in like Valorant or something else. It's
Really?
definitely yeah, I think so. But I haven't played that game forever.
A special shout out to my teleporting Latinas everywhere. You are loved and appreciated.
I'm trying to think about what other games. There's a whole. I love the games when you get like four of your buddies all on the controllers and the split screen, and all of you are playing the same game. There's a
Oh
whole
my
lot of
god.
those. Well, aside from like the Halo and the shooters and stuff, there's also like one game that me and my friends played for like I think 2 or 3 months, where we just like every day would come back from school and just like, hey, let's go play this, and then we all were playing a game called Speedrunners, where it's like um, this guy it's like this one map where you go around, or there's different maps in the game, but you just go around the map and it's just like a giant circle, and you get abilities on the way and you're trying to like knock the other people and have them fall down, and then that way when you run off the screen they get killed. And then
Re-
yeah, we were just playing that for like a whole month. It was crazy. But definitely like there's so many gaming, like it's so many games. It's insane. They're all awesome, except if they aren't.
Except when they aren't. And I feel like that's a good segue to our most hated or disappointing games that we've played in recent memory.
Oh yeah, there's. I've definitely played a lot of good games, but there were a couple bad ones along the way.
I feel like mine is We Happy Few, and I was talking to you a little bit about this before we started. The concept is a really good concept. It's like about this community, this like closed off community of people where something really tragic happened. And so they all take these pills to forget it. And if you go off these pills, you start to remember. So it follows this one guy who goes off his pills and he like starts to remember this thing that they've all tried to collectively forget. And well, I thought the premise was like a really good idea. but the writing and like the execution, the whole time I was like, oh, this could be so much better if they just like, you know, like wrote better or like put more effort into it. And I feel like the gameplay was so stale that luckily my love for the story that wasn't even all there carried me through to the end. But I just feel like it could have been so much better. And I feel like if they were to retackle it, I would be there. I would be seated for a retelling of it. But it fell so short for me, and it really disappointed me.
Yeah, I have that same thing right now with Halo Infinite because I've been waiting for that game for years, and it's been like, hey, we're gonna like they literally waited an entire year. They said, hey, it's coming out this year, and then they waited an entire year, and then it came out finally in 2021. And then when it did, it still wasn't really finished. It's like, yeah, I guess they have the whole campaign finished, but they have like three game modes and like a handful of maps. But even the first game had more maps and game modes, and that was literally a decade ago, or not even a decade ago, 20 years ago. So I don't know how they don't have that many this like with this coming out. But that was really disappointing. And then on top of that, they don't update it that often either. I mean, you see Fortnite, it's successful because it's updating weekly. On the other hand, Halo Infinite has been exactly the same since release. They haven't even finished their first season yet, so still waiting on that whole thing. But at the same time, they also just started like a show, and that's also not looking to be the best. But we'll get into that later. But there's I don't know. It's like, hey, we're gonna release all this stuff with the game, and they make like false promises. Like they said, oh yeah, we're gonna have split screen. Doesn't have split screen. We're gonna have playable elite. Doesn't have playable elites. We're gonna have all these different things, and they just aren't there. It's not like complete. I hate it when a company says, hey, we're gonna have a game. It's gonna come out on this day, and it's gonna be finished, and then it comes out like it takes way longer to come out, and then it when it does come out, it's not finished, and it's just because like the whole gaming industry um, is unorganized, basically. That's something that you see like right now. Recently, one of the biggest games right now on Steam is, or I guess around any game console, is Elden Ring, and this game is really just well put together and has like the player can play for hours and hours progressing and there's so many different things that you can do, which is mainly leading to its success. Like you can play, I mean, Halo Infinite. Yeah, you have this game, and it's been taking a while to come out, but it's unorganized and there's not much content. So people are gonna play for like maybe a week or two, and then be like, all right, I'm gonna go check out a different game. I'm gonna check out this other game because like, hey, it's not finished. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna have to wait like a year for it to get more content. So yeah, I don't know if you have any other games that are like that where it's like, hey, this game's not finished. I mean,
Ooh,
Cyberpunk was like that event at the beginning, but
Cyberpunk was definitely like that. Now that you mention games that I wish had more content, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it didn't really it didn't really hold me. I was a big fan of Odyssey. I'm a big fan of like Greek mythology and
yeah,
like the
that game I
culture.
was playing for a while, and then I saw they released a new one. It's like, oh, Vikings, that might be cool, and I just
Yeah, that's what I
dropped it.
thought too. I know, and I was like, okay, never mind. But, who knows? Maybe if they were to have a new one, maybe I would tune in. Maybe I wouldn't.
Yeah, it all depends. I don't know what they would like. What would be a good genre for them? Like, I think Greek was awesome. Even Egyptian was okay, although that one was a little. I don't know. It
New
was like
fantasy.
it was okay.
They should just be like fuck it and go full fantasy, and I would be there.
Well, I mean, I know a little bit about the lore of Assassin's Creed and everything, and I know like, hey, it's like aliens and like, hey, they have like artifacts and stuff, and
Oh God,
It's
really?
already got yeah. I mean there's like literally a scene in one of the games that you can unlock where you see like this super hyper realistic or not hyper realistic, hyper futuristic city and like just two naked humans that are like labeled as like subject 17 or something, and they're like just running and doing parkour through this entire city, and it's like, oh, that's Adam and Eve, and that's the apple of Eden that they're stealing, and it's like, oh, but like there's a whole lore, like extra lore, like underneath it all, and it's like they rarely touch it, and it's like that kind of sucks. But yeah,
What the heck? Adam and add like naked aliens? Me.
no, they were humans, but they were like covered
Oh,
up and stuff because the cutscene. But like that's what they were. But like it's like literally meant to be apple or the apple of Eden and Adam and Eve and stuff. Um, what else? Like from the Bible and stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's also games that have withheld or not, well, not withheld, withstood the stand of time. I don't know, there's tons of games that are still awesome to this day that came out like decades ago. Like Portal 2, I can definitely hop onto that and play that with a friend and just do a couple of the multiplayer levels, or just play through the whole game again and see if I can go for a faster time or something. There are a lot of those games. I can go and play through Fallout New Vegas again, that giant open world, and go through the wasteland. Maybe instead of going through like I don't know, using a different gun.
that's so Fallout. I've played a little bit of Fallout 4. I felt so lonely in that little game. I feel like
Yeah,
I got scared really easily.
I feel like open world games, like I feel like it kind of sucks because it's like I want to play this at my own pace, but at the same time, it would be fun if I was playing with other people. But also at the same time, there's been like every rendition of like an open world I've seen that has also been like multiplayer. It just doesn't work out that well. Like Fallout 76, which is the newest one they
Oh
made,
yeah.
and it
Red
just
Dead
didn't hit the same.
what is it? Red Dead Redemption did it pretty good. Like they have of course their like on their story mode, but their Red Dead Online is incredibly fun. It's like open world. You just do a bunch of bounty. I love that. It's my little cowboy game whenever I want to escape into my little cowboy fantasy.
Yeah, but like I don't know, open world games it seems to be like multiplayer or multiplayer is not really like the top priority because it's meant to like tell the story to the main player and have them go at their own pace.
Yeah,
Like some players are gonna be playing this at like I don't know 12 hours out of the day, just binging it. But some players are going to be playing 2 hours out of the day and slowly progressing through the story over the next month or so. Um, so there's definitely like different like people play different amounts. Um, but yeah, also there's like different aspects of open world games as well. Like there's like the whole quest line thing, which some open world games it's just about exploration, and some of them it's all about like, hey, you go to this castle and then go to this castle and save this person, but you need the key from the other castle first. Or and then like you get back and it's like, oh, now you had to go do this thing, and it's like it just goes on, and it's like that's definitely like fun, I guess. Although it's also just like you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, cool, I got the item. I also like the games that are like linear based, where it's like level one, level two, level three, level four. Like I played through the Wolfenstein uh, game series, which was definitely an awesome game series. Yeah, in Wolfenstein, I played through all the games from they had I think it was Old Blood, New Order, and then New Colossus. And I played through each of those all on I think it's basically Nightmare from Doom because it's the same developer as Bethesda, but it's called like Kill Billy or something. But it's like the game is like awesome. It's got like it's an awesome story. Well, not really a good story to be honest. Well, okay, it's a really good story, but like not a good story, I guess. I mean, it's about the Nazis winning winning the war because they have advanced technology and all these different things. But the story is like it's got a great universe and it's got a whole bunch of different like things. and a good plot and everything. And it's pretty solid, I would say. And I really like, as much as I do like my open world games, sometimes it's just not the mood. Sometimes I want to just go through a game with a nice linear story where I go from level 1 to level 2, level 3, level 4, and it's just like it's just a straight shot of a map. And it's all new environments. I think that's really cool. I think in Wolfenstein 2, you end up going on like one level you're on like a train, and then the next level your house is like being lifted up by a giant like drone, and you're falling from the sky and stuff while
Really?
fighting like robots. Yeah, there's a whole lot of crazy stuff in those games. Definitely a good game to go play if you haven't played it. They also did have another one other than the main three. They also had a multiplayer one that they tried, which kind of flopped. So I
Is
don't
that
know.
the New Blood one?
Yeah, or Youngblood. There's
Young.
yeah, there's Wolfenstein in order of release and the timeline. It's Old Blood, New Order, New Colossus, and then Youngblood. Youngblood, you play as the main character's two kids, but
Oh, okay.
they're definitely like Youngblood's kind of weird because it's like you're playing with people that are also like way more into the game than you at the same time at like the starting stage. So it's kind of weird. You're not like paired up with people that haven't played the game at all, or haven't played the game at all, or haven't done much of the game at all. But I definitely would go and check out those games if you haven't, because it's a really cool story. I think in the first game you fight like zombies for the majority of it, which is like
Zombies.
it's only in
Are
the
they?
first game, and then the second game is no zombies, and it's like they didn't exist, but then some stuff from the first game carries over into the second game.
A little
Also,
retcon?
the third game is labeled as the second game, but it's the third game because it's Wolfenstein Old Blood, Wolfenstein New Order, and then Wolfenstein 2 Colossus, or Wolfenstein 2 The New Colossus. But Wolfenstein or Old Blood is, I think, made by a different publisher or something, but still the same style and same looks and everything. Um, but yeah, those are definitely some good games. Kind of like the Halo, kind of like how Doom is. But I definitely like sometimes like with every I do I I pretty much like open world games just as much as I like linear games where you're following a level structure. Um, but yeah, like I don't know, there's a whole lot of different things. But yeah, I like me some shooters. That's pretty much my favorite genre, and I love exploring the worlds that they have. I always find it interesting, and some games are good at telling a story, some aren't, and some aren't good at like making the game work, I guess.
Yeah. So speaking on storytelling games, I feel like video games themselves are a good medium to tell certain stories, and I feel like in recent years, there's been a need to translate those movies into film. And while some of them might be hits, like I can't think of one, the rest I feel that most of the times fall really short. And I feel like that kind of moves into our video game adaptations. How do you feel about video game adaptations to when they switch them over to film?
I think it. I don't know. I feel like what happens is it doesn't appeal to the people that have played the games, like the fans. It like most of the time it's meant to tell a story, which is okay, but it's not what the people want, I guess. Which is why it doesn't end up good. Like right now, there's a new Halo TV show that's just started out on Paramount Plus, and people aren't, or the fans aren't really too happy with it because it's a different timeline. In the games, your Master Chief's whole squad is the blue team, and in the show, it's Silver Team, which is someone that we, or which is full of people that we don't really know, and also like they fell back to the art style that most players didn't like from Halo 4 and 5. It also has some questionable things. Like I seen a meme that is just like, "Yo, it's the Halo Chevron car, or Halo Chevy." It's like, what the heck? Like, why is this used in the set? It's like set like 400 years in the future or 500 years in the future, and it's like, why is this car from like early 2000s here? So that's a little confusing. On top of it, like in the games, you never see them. Like when you go through the new Mombasa city, and that's in Africa, and it's got hyper realistic cars. I don't know why they would have a Chevy on on this planet. Um, it
Oh, is
doesn't
there
make
a
any
Chevy
sense.
in it?
Yeah, there's a part in the first episode where he is Master Chief is fighting two elites, and in the background, as the camera shifts around, you just see a Chevy parked there, and it's like, why is this here? This is so out of place. Well, I guess it's not out of place with the environment, but the environment also doesn't match up with what it should. Um, they also do like weird retcons, like um, they change the race of Captain Keyes and his daughter. In the original game, they're both Caucasian, but in the show, they're African American, which is okay. I'm not really mad about it. It's just different and not really what the fans remember. So it's like, who's this character? Oh, it's this guy. They have to mention it. And it's like, okay, that works, I guess, but I don't see why it had to. I think it was just because they were like, oh, it's too whitewashed or something. But I think it's fine. It's just different. They could have added a different character and said, hey, this is so and so, and it's like, okay, that works. Also, the whole show is all centered around this one girl, and everybody is like, hey, we're playing the games. We're playing as Master Chief in the games. Why are we following the story of this nobody that we don't know at all? And it's like, maybe they come in important towards the end of the show, but like, we don't really, I don't know, we don't have that same connection. Also, they do a lot of other stuff in the show that I don't like, but I think what happens with shows and also a lot of games as well is they make the game or they make it for a more general audience, I guess, or they try to, but they don't follow what the fans want, which is what kind of kills it because it's like, hey, the fans will watch the show and say this is a really good show if you like the games, and then that will be like, oh, I'm gonna go check out the games now, and then people that have played the games are like hearing about the show, and then it goes on and builds up stuff. But if you play a game and it's like, oh yeah, I've been playing this game forever, they just made a show, the show's shit, I don't want to watch this show. That's not gonna help. That's gonna be like, oh, if the show's garbage, why would I play the game if the game's also garbage? The game could be awesome, but the show's not really holding up for the name. Uh, But yeah, they've tried many movies. They made the Sonic movie, which was okay, but they definitely had to. I think they took a giant break, or not break, but they delayed it because they had to redo the whole art style of Sonic because everybody looked at it and was like, "Yikes, this doesn't look good." But they actually didn't listen to the fans, changed it, and it I did better than it. I could tell you it probably would have been worse if it came out in the state it did. Um, but yeah, I think it's definitely like what has to happen is yes, you need to have like a set script and everything, but at the same time, you have to listen to the fans of the franchise because if you don't really listen to what they want, then it's not going to end up the best, I guess. Um, I don't know if you know any like that.
Shows that like they don't listen to fans and all that.
Well, yeah, shows that don't listen to fans or anything around that.
I'm trying to think. I feel like my biggest thing with video game adaptations is they take away the fun part of a video game. You're playing as these characters, you're making the choices. Video games transport you into the story that's being told, and I feel like when you take away that part of it, you're watching it, and I feel like the whole fun part about these video games or the stories they tell within is that you're participating in the story through like meaningful ways. Like The Last of Us, they announced an adaptation for that, and while I do have high hopes for it, I feel like there's something so important to that story about actually do like a large portion of the second story revolves around the cycle of revenge and how far we go to, you know, the cycle of violence, how far we go to avenge someone and where that path takes us. And what makes that story so powerful is that you're the one committing these actions instead of just watching from the sidelines, watching this person do it. You're the one pressing the button. You're the one killing these people. So it puts you more into the story than you would be in like when you're watching a film. And I feel like it has to be a really good adaptation for it to be just as good as the game. Or I'm trying to think of something that would be better, or an adaptation that was better than the game, but none comes to mind. But I feel like that's my main thing with video game adaptations. I'm trying to think like Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider, as it was a good action film, but I feel like the games are 10 times better because you're the one, like climbing across these cliffs, pulling off these like sick arrow shots, and it makes you feel like you're a Tomb Raider. You're doing this like tomb heist. You're raiding tombs pretty much. So I feel like when you take that away, it kind of takes the fun out of it. But going back to like shows or anything where they don't listen to fans, or video games where they don't listen to fans, I can't really think of anything. Um,
I could tell you there's a lot because I don't know. What I see is like the games that end up lasting a long time are the games that listen to their audience, and especially like when it's the entire audience saying something. Like what sucks about Halo Infinite is the game. Basically, what happened is the first three games are developed by Bungie, Halo 1, 2, 3, and also Reach and ODST, but those are side games. But the first three games are released by them, and then they end up handing the reins over to 343, and 343 releases Halo 4 and 5. Um, they take longer to release those two games. I guess they also have Infinite now, but they take longer to release those games. The story is changed, the art style has changed, and players just aren't happy. And I don't see why they needed to change it in the first place, because if they just kept on the same train that it was going, then it probably would have been better. But for some reason, they changed things, um, which is why it was talked about. And I think that's like one of the bad things is like I guess like the company putting their own spin on it, or trying to change things and make them better. But if they're already performing good, it doesn't need to be changed, which I think is just something that just becomes a problem, I guess. Like listen to the fans.
yeah, I think it's important to listen to the fan base because it's like that's where you're getting a portion. That's where you're getting your engagement from. But it depends, like on what the fans are saying too. Because I feel like going back to the Last of Us show, originally in the game, the main character Joel Miller, he was this like white Texan guy, and they casted a Latino man as like the lead role, and a lot of people had some backlash with that. And I think a good portion were like, no, we want this, and I feel like you know as much as they should listen to fans, I think it's bullshit. It all depends on what they bring to the character. At the end of the day, it's the spirit of the character that the actor is portraying. So I feel like as long as they do that good, that's all that matters. But
Oh yeah, I totally think that. I think if someone
yeah,
is like if someone sends a story out and the story is portrayed by an actor of maybe a different race or even a different gender, even that works as well, as long as it's done like to the same T that the original source is. So like if the games are all based off of, let's say, what's a character that we both know very well? Okay, let's say Doom Guy. Let's say they make let's say they make a show about Doom Guy. Or it's the Doom show, right? They make a Doom TV show, and instead of Doom Guy, it's Doom Girl. That will work as long as Doom Girl is just as uh, cold-hearted, like just rip and tear everything. That will work. But if they make it Doom Girl and she's like, I'm just gonna shoot your head off, and like that's not gonna work. Like you have to follow the same way that the character follows, and do the same type of actions that the character is gonna do. Because if you go too far from that, it's not the same character and it doesn't have the same feel, which is something that has happened with the Halo TV show already on the first episode. Because in the games, Master Chief never shows his face. In the TV show, first episode, bam, and it's like, okay, I guess that's fine, but that's not really how he works. Because like in this situation, I guess I'm gonna go into a little bit of a spoiler, but he's
You
being
spoiled.
pointed at. There's a gun pointed at him, and for some reason he's like, I'm gonna take off my helmet to gain the trust of this person, which I guess makes sense. It gives a human interaction, but that's not something that he would do. He would just be like, he would just go and grab the gun from them. Like that's not how he operates. He wouldn't put himself in unnecessary danger like that.
Mm.
But
Do you think by making that change there, how would you characterize him in the video games? Do you think he's like a well fleshed out character?
yeah, I think he's definitely like it's. I think what the thing is they're doing it for a plot reason, which I guess is okay, but it's he's a character that's been around for the last 20 years and he hasn't shown his face once, and it's good because it's like, hey, he's like the silent protagonist. He doesn't need a face to match him. Like this is him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is what he looks like. And hey, he's acting funny now. He's instead of acting like this, he's acting like this, and it's like that's not the same character, which I think just sucks when they. I guess it's when media tries to recreate a character when the character is already its own character.
No, yeah, I get that. I get that.
I definitely don't like that when that happens. I would like it to stay the same. Maybe some creative changes need to happen, but not to vary off from it too much. Like I said with the Doom girl versus Doom guy, if they made a show about Doom, as long as the Doom girl is acting exactly the same as how the Doom guy acts in the games, that will work. I mean, maybe some people will be mad about it, but I think it's perfectly fine. Also, for all we know, well, I guess technically we do know, but uh, as far as Halo 1 to Halo 3, we don't know anything about Master Chief other than that he's a green guy in a suit, pretty much. Um,
Do you think this show might be like aiming to fix that a little bit?
well, I mean, in the show they just make him a white guy, so.
Let me look up the cast.
Well, I guess I don't know if he's exactly white. He's pretty white skinned. But I don't know. They didn't need to. The thing about the character is, hey, he could be anybody. He could even be a girl with a voice changer on. Like we, it makes it possible for the player to put their themselves in the character by imagining them like the helmet coming off and having their own face underneath. But when you put a face to that character, oh, I can't really personalize as much. And that's something that they did with the show, which kind of sucks with the game.
Damn, he's built.
But yeah, they do. I don't know. Some of the changes don't work as well because it changes how we think about the characters. But I think the show's. I think it could still do okay. I mean, it's only the first episode, but from the route they're going, it seems like they're changing things because they want to change things, and not really following what the fan base wants at all. I think the way to succeed in the games and in the shows or movies based off the games is to follow what what parts are the fans most interested in. Like I think I think it's something that needs to stay. Like it's okay to have like maybe the story of Halo is like, hey, he goes to this Halo ring and stops it from destroying everything. But then in the show, it's like, hey, he's I don't know, fighting fighting aliens and defending this human girl. It's like, okay, I guess that is okay as a plot, but like he doesn't need to be doing all these different things that go off from what his character is. It's just different, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just sucks when the characters are changed. For I don't for some reason. Uh, like they just don't when they don't need to, I guess.
So I feel like, we spent a good chunk talking about our favorite video games, what we like, what we don't like, adaptations to said, properties. Um, is there anything else you want to add before we close out?
Not really. I mean, I just really think what has to happen uh what has to happen when games are released or even being made or even movies based on the game or even movies that already have previous uh media of them. What has to happen is the people that are maybe new to making this media need to follow what the fans want and make it work. Because if they try to do their own story from the ground up, not fully knowing the characters, that's not gonna work. Like I've heard of like new movies or games or movies based off of games where or even off of books where the people who are making the movies or writing the script have not even read the entire lore of that media, and it's like, what are you doing? You're gonna disappoint everybody who's been a fan of it for the whole entire duration of its existence. But I think that's definitely something that needs to be like a high priority on the list.
Yeah, I definitely would be my takeaway. I really love what the industry is doing at the moment, especially with the diversity within their games and certain character creations. I definitely see a wider array of accessibility also within the games. But one thing I do love is, it's really starting to branch out. We're starting to tell stories that we really haven't seen before. I like the direction that we're going in, and I'm hopeful for the future and what new things might come out of, creatives as we, keep on going and make new things. So, I'm hopeful. But when it comes to video game adaptations, I'm very picky about it.
Yeah, and
And
this is totally different as well with games that are open world, open customization, like tell your own story. Like it's totally different because if that's like how they did the Witcher series, where it's kind of like yeah, there's quest lines, but you can do in a different order. That works because it's like, and also it's such a big open world and stuff that like,
yeah,
hey, we don't maybe there is this stuff out there, we just haven't explored it. So that works. But games that are linear and tell like one story, I think they need to stick to either that story or a story that is in the lore that isn't expanded upon enough. And also not changing the character because in those type of games they have a defined character. Meanwhile, in like the open world games, it's like, hey, we got a whole like, or we you can make your own character in whatever way you like. But
okay, let's see. Well, thank you, everyone, and by everyone we mean Tim, for listening in on this. This what we had to say about video games and the stories that they're telling. So I feel like overall we really discussed the capabilities video games have to tell stories and meaningful ones at that. And I feel like they have a close. Everyone has kind of a close tie to the art form itself.
and yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. We're pretty much done with the podcast. I I definitely can talk more and more about all these different things, but
I
we've
know.
only got a limited amount of time, so yeah, we'll pretty much wrap it up here, and I'll see you guys next time if we do another one. But yeah, been a good podcast.
Woo woo.
So I guess I'll say bye, and yeah,
Goodbye. I also say goodbye. Bye
see you
everyone.
next see you next time, Sebastian.
See you next time, Robert.